talk in this series, and today's talk is going to be on herbs. And I just want to introduce you again to myself. I'm Kaye, and I've been doing these programs in Albury and surrounding. I've gone to a lot of different places to run them for probably now, sometimes I wonder, and I forget how many years, but it's like 20 plus years, 25 years. So I'm sort of been quite established in running them, and I wanted to share with you folk, but this time I also have the people who are watching online. So if you've got any, and some of the things that you may miss, go online and see them. And I've got the address on the end of the program, so you'll be able to see them, get the address where you can watch them. Okay, but today is herbs for your health. Okay, we'll just wait till we get on the screen. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about how we can utilize and use herbs in our everyday life. Now, obviously, I just wanted to state this is just for information only, and they've been used throughout the centuries. However, this program is not intended to be a substitute for any treatment that may be prescribed by your doctor. And I want to stress this to you. You need to consult your doctor before taking herbs if you are on any medications. I want to stress that to you. So don't come to me and say, oh, I'm on such and such a medication. Can I take a herb? I said, that's you. You have to find that out yourself because every medication is different. Now, some herbs you can take with medication, but I have no idea. I just say you need to check out first. Okay, and women who are pregnant, considering becoming pregnant or breastfeeding, should not be using herbs without the approval of their doctor. You know, don't just think, oh, herbs, they're just, oh, they're nothing, I can do it. No, please be careful, you know. Especially if you are pregnant or planning to get pregnant, it is something you need to be aware of. And be extremely careful. Some plants are poisonous. Don't just go out and think, oh, I'll just try herbs. And you think you know what a herb is. You need to know. You do not guess. Read several books. And I've got a little book here which I use all the time. It's only a small book. And it's called Free Food and Medicine, Worldwide Edible Plant Guide. And I just like it because it's got coloured pictures on every single herb that they've mentioned. They've got trees, they've got berries, they've got, grasses, they've got everything in there. And it's just a simple little book. It's not too... And if you wanted to get it, if you went onto my website, down the bottom of the website, in the banner, right down at the bottom of it, you'll find a link to this where you can get it. But I want to tell you, it is from America, so you will have to pay postage out here. And the book, I think, is around about $30. And so you've got to get your postage and you've got to get your exchange rate. Just realise that that's involved in it. So if you wanted to get a local book, that's fine. But you need to get a book that you can watch and you can read and you can check them all out. I liked this one because it's reasonably small, and if we go for a walk or something, I can take it with me. And so I'm looking and I'm just checking out the plants. But whatever book you have, you need to know what you're using. Or you need to ask somebody who knows. Okay, using your garden and wild-crafted herbs. Now, what's a wild-crafted herb? It's something that you are going to forage for yourself. Now, I've got some herbs here which you see down at the back table, which my husband's down there. Now, you might think, oh, well, that's second best. Do you know what? If you wanted to get some comfrey, and this is the one I've just lifted up as comfrey. If you wanted to use comfrey, the comfrey that you get yourself and you dry it yourself and use it yourself is going to be far, far superior than something that is bought, even if it's organic. Now, I was always taught when I was doing my herb course that even if you forage or you wildcraft your herb yourself, even if you make a little mistake in drying, it's still going to be more potent than something that you buy from a shop. But not everybody has the chance to go out foraging, and as we call them, wildcrafted. But they have loads of vitamins and minerals, and including trace minerals. Now, why do we need them? Okay, now, the point I want to make here. Now, I don't know if this is... I remember when I was doing my course, I was listening to a DVD, and they said out in the wild there are 7 different layers of root systems in the world, in plants. Now, when you think of vegetables, and you think, oh, well, I eat a very healthy vegetable diet, and you might, but you stop and think, how deep is the root system of vegetables? Possibly, some of them would be quite shallow, but some would be a little bit deeper. But what about a perennial? Their root system goes so much deeper. And what about some of the shrubs? They go even deeper. Now, did you know that an alfalfa goes down over, well, they say 100 feet, which is roughly 30 metres. Now, what I want you to understand, there are some trees and shrubs and leaves that you have the root system going down quite far into the ground, and that's going to bring up valuable trace minerals. That's what we're after. Maybe some of the minerals you can get, but your trace minerals, they're found right deep down in the soil. And so if you're not having a diet that's balanced with all these trace minerals right from deep down, that's why we're having so much health problems. We're not getting enough nourishment in our bodies. And that's one way you can do it. So utilise herbs. And you use a broad spectrum of herbs. Some of them you'll find that they grow and their root system is quite shallow, but you need to make sure some of them you need to get which going right deep down into the ground. But they have valuable alkalizing benefits. They're a source of antioxidants. They have natural antibiotics. They're pain-relieving properties. They speed up the metabolism and they generate oxygen. Now, they are also rich in chlorophyll. They boost the immune system. They improve red blood cell quality. They support healthy skin. And do you know what? There's something which some people are saying when they really up their intake of greens, and we're talking about the chlorophyll. Did you know many people are saying that they can last much longer in the sun and they don't get sunburnt? And the reason people are getting so sunburnt is they're so deficient in chlorophyll in the greens. Because some people say, look, they can stay out all day and they don't get sunburnt when they're having a lot of greens in their diet. They help with weight loss. They neutralise body odour and they increase energy. And they also have phytochemicals. Now, what are phytochemicals? They are chemicals found in plants that protect plants against bacteria, viruses and fungi that can also protect human disease, against disease. And there are more than 1,000 known phytochemicals. For instance, you've got your lycopene in tomatoes, you've got your isoflavones in soys and flavonoids in fruits. So you've got all these phytochemicals. Now, they are antioxidants, they are hormonal actions, they stimulate enzymes, they protect your DNA from carcinogens, they are antibacterial, they bind physically to cell walls, thereby preventing the adhesions of pathogens to human cell walls. So you can see they have loads and loads of benefits. But, now this is something I want to stress with you. You need to use a plant whole. Now we're talking about, I'm talking, you can use it dried too, but it needs to be whole. Now they somehow or other, science has been able to isolate properties out of plants. And what happens? Every plant has in it something toxic if separated or isolated. For example, if you isolate chlorophyll, and you just take chlorophyll, well, if you injected 80 milligrams of chlorophyll, that would kill mice. But yet we know chlorophyll's fine. You can have chlorophyll, but you need to take it whole. The 300 to 400 microflora in our intestines all have a job to do. Each deals with a specific chemical found in the plant. Now, take these chemicals separately and they could kill you. You need to be careful. Because do you know what most of the drugs made nowadays are just isolated from plants. And what happens? You know that a lot of the drugs, well, they're causing problems for you because they're isolated. But if you take the whole plant, you'll find that you'll get it. Now, by the way, too, this is only, obviously I can't cover a lot of the herbs. I'm just covering some of those that I thought of. And there's so many more that I can cover, and I could, but I haven't got time. But use herbs synergistically. They work better in combination. Now, synergistically means you just don't take one herb, but you can take a blend of herbs because they work better. Another one, extracts of herbs, which is what I was just talking about. But in the 1970s, saffrol was extracted from the herb sassafras. They injected 1950 milligrams of this into mice, and the mice died. So guess what? They banned saffrol. Lobeline was extracted from lobelia. 37 micrograms was injected into mice, and they died. And so they banned lobelia. And lobelia is something, because with this ratio, comparing our body weight with that of mice, it would take 2 kilograms of lobelia injected to kill us. And I mean, even if you ate as much lobelia as you possibly could, you can't, because guess what? It's an emetic. It makes you vomit. So you can't take too much. So you just realise, so the point I'm making here is take your herbs whole, not extracts. Now, has anyone here heard of the doctrine of signatures? Well, this teaches us that God has placed a sign in every plant indicating its medicinal use. Each part of the plant, now whether it's the leaves, the petals, the flowers, the berries, the nuts, they resemble various parts of the body and can be used to treat ailments of the body or ailments of that part of the body. And did you know that the Bible talks about that leaves were given to mankind for the healing of the nations? I believe they are a medicine that God has given mankind so that we can get better if we've had... Remember I talked to you about the 8 laws of health? They are the true doctors. But if you get sick, you need help. Well, herbs are one way that we can help. Okay, now have a look at this. A sliced carrot looks like the human eye. Now, what are carrots good for? Eyesight. Grapes hang in a cluster that has the shape of the heart and like a blood cell. And what are grapes good for? Grapes will rebuild your blood. A walnut looks like a little brain. And guess what? It is food for the brain. Walnuts are food for the brain. And by the way, you'd learn that in the depression recovery seminar. You'd need to have foods with a lot of utilising nuts and walnuts. Kidney beans actually heal and help maintain kidney function.
Is this in the book?
No, that's not in the book. Okay. Celery, bok choy, rhubarb, and many more just look like bones. And what are they good for? Calcium, strengthen your bones. Avocados, eggplants, and pears target the health and function of the womb and cervix of the female. They look like it, don't they? Figs are full of seeds. They increase the mobility of male sperm and increase the numbers of sperm as well as overcome male sterility. Sweet potatoes look like a pancreas and they actually balance the glycemic index of diabetics. Oranges, grapefruits and other citrus fruits just look like the mammary glands of the female and actually assist the health of the breasts and the movement of lymph in and out of the breasts. Olives assist the health and function of the ovaries. Onions look like the body's cells. They help clear wastes materials from all of the body cells. They even produce tears which wash the epithelial layers of the eyes. A working companion, garlic, also eliminates waste. And a tomato has 4 chambers and is red. The heart has 4 chambers and is red. Tomatoes are loaded with lycopene and are indeed pure heart and blood food. Did you know that wild food surrounds us everywhere? And who even knows about it? Yes, you're right. Somebody said the indigenous people know about it because, but there is an isolated few people. I know a few people who know about it, but most people don't know that the wild food or the grass that they're walking over could be their medicine. They have no idea. And the weeds they pull about it. I can still remember many years ago when I used to weed in the garden and I would say, you know what, I just wonder why these weeds are here. And do you know something? I found out now. They are for our medicine. Do you know, it's a very interesting thing because when Adam and Eve were created, God created, he gave them a diet. He put them on nuts, fruits, grains, and seeds. Meat didn't come in until after Noah's flood, okay? Meat then, when came in, God gave permission for men to eat meat. Now, from Adam and Eve's creation to Noah's flood is probably maybe about 15, 16, 1700 years from the chronological dates in the Bible. You can trace it. Okay, but did you know that immediately after Adam and Eve sinned, God says, now you can add herbs? Interesting, isn't it? Because I believe they are like an antidote, because he knew that we would have all these problems now because of sin and because what we're eating and our toxins in our body. Herbs are an antidote. Okay, but most people don't know that you're growing in your street, your nature strip, beside the roads, in our parks. There is food. Choose plants not exposed to car fumes or animals. You need to be wise. You look at a plant and you think, well, that looks healthy or that looks a bit sick. You obviously got to use your mind when you're using this. But I want to just ask you something. How reliant are you on the supermarket or grocery store? Now, if you couldn't go to the grocery store and buy any food, would you stay alive? Well, I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share with you because I believe you could. And how reliant are you on the pharmacy? The electricity grid, the water, heat. We've got to think. We have to think ahead. I was thinking about this and I thought, when I was a young girl, I went to the Girl Guides. When I was right back when I don't know if they're still around now, I can't tell you, but I remembered the motto we were taught, be prepared. You remember that? Be prepared. So this is my philosophy about these things. You need to realize and know now, become educated while you have a chance to know what you can use, because we have to start thinking about the wild, edible food growing around you. There are berries, leaves, roots, fruits of all kind around you. Now, it has been said that within a 2-kilometre radius of where you live is enough food to keep you alive. That's interesting but you've got to know what to look for. You've got to know. Now, combine this with a vegetable garden and you will live in times of extreme hardship if you can't get to a shop. Now, I'm going to talk to you how are we going to make these herbs up. You can have herbal teas or you can have infusions. Now, an infusion is where you pour your boiling water over your dry tea leaves. You have a decoction. That's when your dried herbs are a little bit harder. You've got seeds or you've got berries or barks or roots, and you need to simmer them. You bring and simmer covered for 20 minutes, then you cool and you strain it. So that's a decoction. But you can swallow your herbs as pills, powders or tinctures, and sometimes you might even want to put them in capsules too. You can put them in capsules, which I've done many times. I've got one of those little capsule fillers and you buy empty capsules from the health food shop. They sell them and they're just like they're gel capsules, that they're not the ones made on animal protein, but they are gel, and so you can buy them from the health food shop. You can also use them with fresh leaves. 2 teaspoons of fresh crushed herbs per cup. Pour boiling water over the freshly cut finely herbs, or you can use your leaves in smoothies or salads. You know, I've done classes when we've gone out, and I've gone out into the wild and we picked everything we can possibly think that's edible, and we've come back and sliced it up and made it into a salad. And you know something, it's quite palatable, it's quite nice, bearing in mind that salads are always nicer with a good dressing on, aren't they? So, but yeah, you can do it that way. You make herbs and oils using dry leaves. Now, I'm going to talk about that as we go through. When you make oils, and I've got some here, and as I'm getting to I'll get to the plant and when I'm going through each one, but you don't make herbal oils using wet leaves because, yes, you can get properties out of them and you can go into your oil, but it will not have you won't keep because it'll go mouldy. You have to use dry herbs to do your oils. If you wanted them in a hurry and you wanted using wet herbs, just remember you would have a shelf life of maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But a herbal oil that's dried properly, like I've got here, will last for years. Okay, you can use herb oils, which I'll share with you later, using dry leaves. You can use them as a base for ointments and creams. And I've got the ointment recipe is in my book, you know, this book here, how to make ointments and oils. The tinctures, you can use it on alcohol, apple cider vinegar or glycerine. Now, I normally don't. I've tried it because the tinctures on alcohol do work better and you can rub them in, but I'm not into alcohol, so I usually use an apple cider or a glycerin. But you can also add it to your foot baths or your baths. Don't think you just got to take herbal teas internally. You can also utilise your skin to get them into you. Now, the first one I'm going to talk to you about today is alfalfa. Now, alfalfa is a king of herbs. It's the richest food. It's helpful for every condition of the body. It's very rich in minerals. You know, the Arabs say that it's the king of herbs. Why? Because its root system goes so deep in the ground. And by the way, I'm talking about alfalfa, and that's what the Americans call it, but most people in Australia, I was brought up on a farm, we call it lucerne. Okay, and it's the same thing. So if you want to get lucerne, you'll find it's the same, okay? It alleviates anemia, strengthens blood vessels. And by the way, as I'm going through this, I've got a lot of information here, and I will not have time to read out everything for you. I'm sorry, I'll just pick out bits and pieces out here, and you're just going to, because if I read through this, it's just going to take too long. But they help your digestion, helps detoxify the liver. And you can, by the way, you can use this in a bath to detox from heavy metals and from Morgellons. Have you heard of Morgellons? Okay, so you could use that in a bath. Okay, so you would just get a whole lot of it and you would bathe in it. Yes, and it'll come out in the bath. Oh, look, I'm not going into that. What if somebody wanted to know? It's Morgellons. It's something that it gets in your skin, little threads they look like little threads in your skins, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Alfalfa counteracts excess acidity. Keep going. Toxemia, jaundice, neuralgia, insomnia. But caution, it aggravates lupus. And don't take it if you're taking warfarin and if you're pregnant. So you need to be mindful of these things. Hawthorn berry. Look at them. So some people know what they are. And do you know what? They are everywhere. Once you can identify them, you go out and find them. Oh, guess what? They are often used as trees in nature strips. The council have planted lots of hawthorn berries. And that's just over the road from where I live. That was my picture I took of the hawthorn berry. And that's the flower. Now, hawthorn berry is something that I have sold this as powder for years. But do you know what? I can't get powder anymore. Something has happened. The supply has just gone. So I've now got hawthorn leaves and flowers. And it is just as good. But obviously the hawthorn berry is a powder. You can mix it in with your drinks. Hawthorn leaf flowers you have to make into a tea. Or you could grind them and you could take them and put them in a capsule too. That's another way you could do it as well. So you can take them any way you wanted to, but you need to get it in. Now, hawthorn, what is it the food for? It is one of the safest herbs. It has no side effects. But you can use your berries, your bark, your flowers and your leaves. And this particular one, and usually, I tell you what, Americans are very big on using the berries. The Europeans are very big on using the leaves and the flowers. So if you buy a book that's more European oriented, you'll use a lot of the leaves and the flowers. But it treats many cardiovascular diseases, alleviates angina, prevents and treats arrhythmia, and it goes right through. You read it, it is so good for your health. It is so good for your heart health. I can remember reading, there's lots of people, they've been sitting, waiting for a heart transplant. This is in America. I remember reading this story. These number of people waiting for heart transplant. They got onto the hawthorn berry, and what it does, it rebuilds your heart. It's medicine for your heart. Okay, you need to get onto it. And I actually wanted to share with you, because I've got a book at home, Left for Dead, and it's called by Dick Quinn. Does anybody come across this one? Left for Dead. Okay, what this man, now this is probably, it's a true story. He's a journalist, and he wrote the story up himself. He had a double bypass, and he got out of hospital, and felt it just did nothing for him, and he was so fatigued. He'd get up and do a little bit of walking, and he had no energy. And he went out, thought he'd go outside and just get a little bit of fresh air, and he ran across a woman who he knew, and this woman said to him, "You need to take cayenne pepper." You remember I told you a couple of weeks ago about cayenne pepper? Well, he decided to finally, after probably 6 months of him not getting better, he decided to listen to this woman. It took that long. So he went and took some cayenne capsules, and you can take your cayenne in capsules. It can upset your stomach. You've got to make sure you take it with food. But guess what? He was fine. Straight after that, he could not believe how much energy he had, and he was sold on it. But if you read the story, it goes on that then later on he combined it with hawthorn berry. Cayenne cleaned out the arteries. Hawthorn berry rebuilt his heart. So you take it with combination. So you can really, and it alleviates diarrhea. It's got all other properties to it as well too. Deactivates free radicals, lowers cholesterol, insomnia, nervous disorders, hot flushes. So it's really good for everything. I can still remember when I first married my husband Peter, he grew up in Germany, and he had this grandmother who was she was not an official herbalist, but she knew so much about herbs. And so he used to say to them, and he helped me, and I went out with Peter, and he identified the hawthorn berry. He says, "We ate this when we were in Germany. We never had, after the war, they didn't have enough food, so guess what?" He said they'd go out picking leaves and berries and all sorts of things like that. Hawthorn berry. And now he knows that it feeds your heart. It's such a good heart food. And they have red ones and white ones and what? Black, yellow ones. Is that right, Margaret? Don't know about yellow, but they had black ones, dark ones. So, and they're obviously a lot bigger in Germany, but we've got them here. I've seen them here. I've found many hawthorn berry trees around here. The only problem is there are thorns on them. They're prickles. They are very hard to pick unless you've got gloves on them. Okay. So. Mealy. They're not terribly nice to eat, but I want you to get over what do things taste like. No, I know. Yeah, okay, this lady has eaten hawthorn berries since she's a very young person, and she says they taste beautiful. And obviously it's an acquired taste, but you just eat it. Yeah, you just eat them. Okay, can be safely used for long periods of times, although they don't use if taking digitalis. Okay, next, red clover. Especially good to purify the blood. So if you've got problems with, you need to get your blood purified. It will build up your blood. Cleanses bowels, kidneys, lungs, and alleviates colitis, and it goes through. It increases elasticity of women's blood vessels due to declining estrogen. Some women use it instead of hormone replacement therapy. Helps alkalize the body and promote detoxification. And look, some of these herbs, you just have to go to the health food shop or wherever and get them. Prevents breast cancer and ovarian cancer, plus it cleanses the skin. So it's got lots and lots of wonderful properties. Improves vision, you can go through there. It is often combined with yellow dock and dandelion. That's how you combine them synergistically. Next, I'm going to go to St. John's wort. That's a paddock of St. John's wort, and you've probably seen it many times as you drive along. You don't realise it because farmers hate it. It's a real pain for farmers. And this is the flower. And when you crush that flower, it gives off a reddish pigment. And there's some more leaves. But it helps prevent some cancers, inflammation. And look, and this one hits viruses. Can you see how good it is? And it is an antioxidant. It alleviates fatigue when accompanied by depression, alleviates symptoms of fibromyalgia, alleviates depression. It's probably one of the better herbs for depression. Okay, so you need to understand that one. And for nerve pain. Now I'm going to share with you here, what I've done is I've made, this is a St. John's wort oil. Now I'll show you there, it's got a reddish tinge to it. Because when you crush St. John's wort, it has a red pigment. Now I told you before, all the herbs you need to use dry so you can keep them. The one that I didn't use dry, I actually let it wilt a few days and then I put it in, is St. John's wort, because it needs to get that reddish tinge out. So I wilt it maybe 3 or 4 days and then I put it and I pour over my herb, I will pour over the best quality olive oil you can buy. Do not buy cheap olive oil from the supermarket because it's cheap. Get good quality cold pressed olive oil if you're going to make it, and use it because it's going to... Now you don't have to have heaps of it. You can just do a little jar, but pour over your oil. Now I've strained that out, and that is something that you don't have. You could make it into an ointment if you wanted to, but you can also use it, and you can just use it and rub it into your skin as a nerve, anything. It'll reduce nerve pain. So anytime you wanted to use an ointment, you would use that as a oil. It's equal to or superior to ipramine, a drug used to treat depression. You use it topically for itching, burns, wound healing, bruising. It's a nerve pain, anti-inflammatory. But do not use when on depression medication. Contraceptive pill, warfarin, pregnancy may cause photosensitivity. So there's always, you need to check up. I want you to stress that. You need to know what you're using and check up on it. Now another one which we use, a lot of people are now getting into maca. Maca is a root. It comes from Peruvian, high in the Peruvian and in the Andes where they grow it, it's right up high. It actually grows and it's got a root similar to a carrot. And what they do, it's a nutritional superfood, and it's very good for fatigue, for mental clarity, very good for Any female problems, a lot of people get it for female infertility and male infertility. Also, they use it for vaginal dryness, for depression, for male impotence, male menopause, male infertility, increases sexual desire, improves sexual performance, increases testosterone levels, any hormonal imbalance. And it's a safe alternative to anabolic steroids used by weightlifters. So it's an excellent thing to get. And we often just put it in. When we have our drink, Peter and I have been on barley green drinks for probably 30 years. And we just add it to our drinks in the morning when we're having our greens every morning. Or actually not every single morning.
Can I ask you a question, or do you want me to wait?
Can you wait? What did you want to know, though?
Well, I want to know if it increases male testosterone, if a woman takes it, will it increase
Yeah, look, it adapts. It's an adaptogen. Yeah, okay, it's an adaptogen. Okay, now Herb Robert. Herb Robert is an excellent herb. It's used in Europe as a traditional herb for cancer. Why? It's because it actually supplies a natural dose of it's able to supply a natural dose of radiation. It contains ellagic acid, which slows growth of tumours caused by certain carcinogens. And it's a source of germanium, a valuable element to the body as it has the ability to make oxygen available to the cells. And so many people who are on Herb Robert who have cancer just really find a great benefit. A lot of people have even got better. But if you have cancer or you know somebody has cancer, number one, you have not got enough oxygen at your cellular level. That's it. Your cells are starved of oxygen. Now, Herb Robert actually gives you your cells at cellular oxygen at cellular level. But cancer cells could not exist in the presence of an abundant oxygen, but only in an anaerobic state. Now, that's Dr. Otto Warburg. He said that in 1966. So they've known a long time. So if you or any of your friends or any of your relatives have cancer, you need to get them to oxygen and get oxygen into their body. But can I tell you just now, and I'll just tell you this as a side, so many people think, how do I get oxygen into my body? Well, do you know the quickest way to get oxygen into your body is by breathing. The cheapest way is by breathing. And most people are not doing enough deep breathing. And if you are short of oxygen, you need to deep breathe. And once you can deep breathe, you're going to oxygenate your body. Now, that's just one very simple thing. There's other things you can do, but that's just a very quick one. And Herb Robert has homeostatic and antibiotic actions, a digestive aid, blood cleanser, body detoxifier, and it goes on. Kidney diseases and kidney stones, lethargy, adrenal glands. So can you see impotency, gout, liver? Look, it covers so many things. Painful inflammation around the finger and toenails, eye irritations, chronic fatigue, skin conditions. But most importantly, is an excellent herb for cancers of the lung, mouth, esophagus, bowel, prostate, breast, uterus, spine, lymph, and other cancers, including skin cancers. And you can use it as a wound healer, bone fractures, or hemorrhaging. But can I tell you, it's quite a bitter herb. It's not a pleasant herb to take. Now, some herbs are nice. While I do say to you, just get over it, I do admit it's not that nice to take. You just got to... You've got to get a plant and you've got to grow it, or you've got to buy it or something. I don't have Herb Robert. It's quite an expensive herb to buy, but I've got loads of it in my garden. Once you've got it, it just comes up everywhere. Yes?
Is that the one that's got, it looks like a crane's bill when it dries off, it's got the long stalk? A long beak with a little knob on the top?
Yes, I think so. It's a little pink flower. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I've got it anyhow, so it comes up everywhere. So we'll see if we can organise some things. If somebody wanted to, see me if they wanted to see get some plants. But it can be made into tea. You can use your leaves daily chopped, or you can eat it over food. But you can use your tea in a foot bath to detoxify, and it removes heavy metals and radiation from the body, including using radiation for electronic equipment. So once we use, these are just wonderful. Would you utilise these things in your body? Chamomile. It's good for nursing mothers, improves milk composition and supply. It's good for painful breasts and mastitis, cleans and strengthens uterus after your birth, and it's good for morning sickness, menstrual pain, heavy menstrual flow, or menopausal conditions. So I told you over the last few weeks, I've told you what to do for menstrual pain. There's a number of things. Make sure you get your feet warm, but this is something else you can do. Teething babies, newborn babies and colic, so you can have it there. Depression, stress, nervous, and stomach upsets, irritable bowel, diverticulitis, insomnia. You could see all that. Look at them all. Hemorrhoids, asthma infections. Ulcers in the mouth, sore gums, inflammation of testicles, diarrhea, sore throats, stimulates adrenals, kidneys, bladder, look, and goes on and on. But there's one thing you can do, and you can put it in a hot foot bath or a hot bath. Now, my husband, I told you earlier, my husband came over from Germany when he was probably a young boy, teenager, early teens. But he remembers his grandmother, when he was a young boy, he got boils over his body. He ate some food that was infected, and he got boils all over his body. And his herbalist grandmother went out and they got a whole lot of armfuls of chamomile and they threw them in the bathtub. And okay, let them soak, just got out the most of it, and then they sat him in the bath. And he said, as he sat in the bath, he said, after a while, all of the boils just popped out in the bath. They just all popped in the bathtub. And so the grandmother, once it was finished, they drained it all out again. Peter also said he drank it as well. The grandmother gave it to him to drink as well. And then as they drained the bath, they did it all again. And they pulled out that last little bit, and he never had any more problems with all these boils, which were all over. Pardon? And he smelt very well. He said, everybody said how nice he smelled. But can you see how you can utilise it? So don't be frightened just to think. So you're not going to go to a shop and just buy a little packet of herb tea. You've got to know where you find chamomile. And, the best thing is to learn to grow it yourself. Sage, here's another one. Herbal folklore has venerated as a sacred herb capable of increasing the lifespan. Contains precursors to produce adrenal hormones, prevents abnormal blood clotting. Oh, look, you can go. And it's good for grey hair. You can see why I didn't take it, can't you? Good for brain, glands, nervous system. And I've had a friend, he swore by it. He loved sage tea. It alleviates itching with herpes, insect bites, shingles, psoriasis, and so on. Kelp, here's another one we can utilise. Contains iodine, essential to proper functioning of the thyroid. Your mineral content is 20 times higher than land-grown food. But I tell you, you've got to get a taste for kelp. It's not that nice. If you like fish, I'm not a kelp person, I'm afraid, but I know how valuable it is. Dry skin, hair disorders, slow growth in children, delayed maturity, fatigue, great for vital energy, liver congestion, gallbladder, cleanses and strengthens the colon, and so on. Calms nerves, protects against radiation, heavy, toxic metals. Do you know, we are being bombarded with toxic metals everywhere we go. It is coming out, it's in the sky. They have got it in the sky. You are being bombarded with it, and you know that it's everywhere. You will not get away with it. We have to know how to detox from heavy metals. And so we can use these herbs to help us. People who take lots of iodine lose weight more easily as it stimulates thyroid, which in turn boosts their metabolism. Now, there's another one which I wanted to share with you, and I'm not going to go through it, but some herbalists consider that if they had one herb, that it would be garlic. It is so good for them. And you can see, look, I'm not going to list all of those things there. You just look at all these things here. But what I've done, you can actually make it into an oil. You just slice up, and I don't use much oil, I maybe a little jar, but you can slice up garlic and you can tip over that olive oil over that, and just maybe 3 or 4 cloves just sliced in a little jar, cover it with olive oil, let it sit for about 3 weeks, drain it off, and that is excellent for putting in your ear for earache. Yeah, no, the oil, the drained oil. Just put a couple of drops in. Okay, you can soak it, the oil, you can take it internally, you can rub it on your skin. But now what I'm going to do, and I'm going to share with you, I'm going to take you through my garden, and I'm going to use green plants. And I'm going to pick some of these. As I'm walking through, I'm going to pick them and I'm putting them in a bowl. I'm going to make a drink out of it. And I'm going to collect and I'm going to use wild, edible, green weeds and plants, and we call them God's pharmacy. Because some of them are vegetables, but most of them are wild, or they are trees or whatever. But you'll see as we go through it. Now, the very first thing I'm going to come across now, what do you think I've got here? Violets. In my garden, they come up everywhere. Now, you can pick the violet leaves as well as the flower. They're fine. They're edible. You can even have the roots. They're good for headaches, digestive disorders, respiratory ailments, cancer, AIDS, arthritis, gum disease. They expel parasites. They're good. They're an anti-inflammatory. So you can use it, and what I do, I will pick maybe 2 or 3 leaves of them, and I put them in a bowl, and maybe 1 or 2 flowers. I'm not going to have heaps of them because this is just one drink. Okay? If you want to make more, you can get more. Okay, then I'm going to walk a little bit further, and guess what I'm going to find? I'm going to find some strawberries. Now, I'm not going to pick the strawberries. I'm going to use the leaves. Did you know that strawberry leaves are one of the best blood cleansing herbs that you can have? It's a tonic to kidneys, liver, spleens, and fat bladders, blood as well as infections. Look at them all. And you're similar to raspberry for all women's uses. So you can use these. I pick maybe just a sprig of them, pop them in my bowl. So I'm not going to eat here. Now, by the way, you could have just strawberry leaf tea. There's nothing wrong with the same. But I'm just picking a few of them and I'm going to utilise them as a drink. And I'm going to show you how I do that at the end. And then this comes up everywhere. Mint. And there's about 20 sorts of mints. And it relieves colic, indigestion, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, muscle spasms, menstrual cramps, headaches, colds, fevers, halitosis, heartburn, sore throats, travel sickness, nervous conditions, insomnia and ulcerative colitis. Figs. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to pick the fig, the actual figs there, which are nice to eat, but I'm going to pick the fig leaf. And I'm not going to pick the big ones. I'm going to pick the more softer, tender ones. Fig leaves are the best known for treating diabetics. Wow. The diabetic will need less insulin when on a treatment of using the dried fig leaves. Now, I get all these things from my herbal books. That's where I've gleaned all of this information from. And you might think, oh, where do I get that? Remember I showed you Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss? That's an excellent book. It talks all about fig leaves. And so I just look at something and I think, I wonder if that's edible. Yeah? And you check it, you go into your books and you find, oh, yes. And guess what? You use it for lowers blood sugar, lowers triglycerides, lowers blood pressure, increases bone density, is good for bronchitis. And who's using fig leaves? You dry them and make them into a tea. This particular way, remember at the beginning I said you can also use it green leaf, which I'm going to use now. I'm going to pick this leaf and I'm going to put it in my bowl. I don't need many. Guess what this one is? This is a peach leaf. See my friend Beryl, she's there. She's a firm favour of peach leaf tea. Good for nerves, a laxative, and it's good for coughs, whooping coughs. Any coughs, dyspepsia, stomach troubles, jaundice, inflammation of the bladder, and will expel worms. Excellent for bladder and uterine troubles such as scalding urine. So get yourself peach leaves. Now you might not see this. As you can see, they're not yarrow. Breaks fevers by inducing perspiration. It stimulates circulatory and a digestive system, removes congestion, cleans blood, eases heavy menstrual flow and bleeding and cramps, and can be used for many other ailments. Do you know, I have a friend, she told me she was at that stage probably in her 50s or however she was. But a lot of women, when they get to that change of lifetime, get incredibly heavy bleeding. It's not like it was 1 or 2 generations ago. We have been exposed to so much chemicals and also to, I believe, a lot of plastics which mimic your estrogen in your body. And you have women who are going through the change of life and are bleeding excessively. Because I know it happened to me and I didn't know what to do to stop it. And what my friend, she told me that she did it, and she said she'd been bleeding for about 18 months and she had about 2 weeks of that 18 months where she was free. And she decided to get on yarrow tea, and she used combined yarrow tea with chamomile. And she said within a couple of hours the bleeding had stopped. And she just remember, it is so good. It is so powerful. And she swears by it. She says every time she has people, she tells people about to get rid of that heavy menstrual flow, get onto your teas. But your yarrow tea will stop bleeding. Remember I told you about Kaye, that stops bleeding? But this is a little bit gentler. Okay, some people might find this easier. I think I would. But I didn't know about it then. Okay, a little bit further on in my yard, you might not be able to pick that. It's very hard to see there, but it's fennel. It builds strength, endurance, and stimulates the metabolism. It calms nerves, activates the digestive system, and regulates intestinal flora, lowers blood pressure. And the seeds can be used as well, and you chew your seeds to depress hunger pangs. So we're using fennel. A little bit longer. I bought this one because you might not know it, but it's called salad burnet. And it's come up all over the yard now. Stops bleeding internally and externally. But this one's a very short little plant that's, it's not very high. It's, you'd have to pick it a lot more of it than you would maybe some of the other things that you're using. Strengthens heart, liver, lungs, kidneys, nervous system. It purifies the blood, relieves indigestion, has disinfectant and antiseptic properties on sores, wounds, bites, ulcers, and sunburn and skin conditions. And parsley. Humble old parsley. Has a high chlorophyll content, helps oxygen, metabolism, cleans blood, dissolves sticky deposits in veins, helps remove kidney stones, and treats urinary tract infections. And you would use it, you can use your root too. You can chop your root up. And sometimes if you pull your parsley out, just chop your root up, chop it up and let it dry out. If you've got a dehydrator, it's excellent to dehydrate things if you've got dried herbs. But if you don't have it, you just chop it out. And some of these herbs could take 2 or 3 weeks to dry out. And depending on the size of your root, it may take a little longer, but you need to watch it. But it will dry. You can use your root as well. Now, that's an easy one. Most people would know that kale helps fight diabetes, is an antioxidant, supports heart health, it reduces risk of stroke, binds carcinogens, it's good for bone health, promotes healthy digestion and skin and hair. A little bit further. Carrot tops. Now, these carrot tops are rich in protein, minerals, vitamins, potassium, calcium, vitamin K that is essential to bone health, has many times more vitamin A than the root, and has 6 times the vitamin C content than the root.
Wow. So we should be eating the tops, not the bottoms.
But they can be a little bitter, so you use them sparingly. You don't use too much. I got a bit excited because I have a large garden of carrots. I always plant a bed of carrots every summer, and I just let them grow there to really get a really nice and strong carrots. And I got all these carrot tops, and I think, oh, look, I think I'll put them in my green drink. And I tell you what, I regretted it because it tastes foul.
Where's the MSM?
This tastes really bitter. Okay, but you use just a little bit. And, you know, if you use a little bit of this every day, you're gaining the properties from these a little bit every day. And you don't need buckets of it, you know. You wouldn't want to. You couldn't anyhow, okay? But you can use it for parasites and worms, blood pressure. The potassium lowers your blood pressure, supports your metabolism and helps prevent osteoporosis. Then I go on a little bit further. Beetroot leaves, okay, you can use them as your greens, okay, but it contains antioxidants that clot blood, boosts bone strength, fights Alzheimer's, strengthens immune system, and vitamin A fights night blindness. So you can see there's so many things. So I just grab a few leaves of this. Then we've got a little bit of silver beet. Sometimes I don't always have these. I just got I took these over a time because I don't have all of these in my garden every single time I'm going out there. But I wanted to give you an idea what I'm getting. Very high in antioxidants. It slows the aging process. It protects heart health, fights cancer, helps prevent diabetes, and goes on there. So it's very good to get this green into you. Now, this one there, oxalis, it goes everywhere. Okay, soursop, as people call it. And, you know, it's got 3 little leaves that are shaped like a heart, which are joined at the tip of the heart. And the stems have got yellow flower on it, and you chew them, and they've got a lemony flavour to them. Yeah, kids love them, don't they? Okay, lemony citrus flavour. You can chew it for nausea, for mouth sores. You can use your tea for urinary infection, your fevers, colds, cleansing blood, gum disease, reduces swelling, tired feet. It has oxalic acid. You need to minimise things, like your stuff with your herbs with oxalic acid. But as you're having it raw and it's not cooked, you're not going to have the same problems. I assume so, but I'd need to check that one up. Sometimes I don't know. I only know the lemon one.
I think the pink flower is it's different. It's a bigger leaf.
Okay, so the pink flower, somebody said the pink flower has a bigger leaf. I don't know. And quite frankly, I will always check it before I do. And I go through my books. I say, no, yes, no. I don't know. And believe me, look, I went through my books and I found out that is wattle flower, you know, the wattle, is edible. And I tell you what, my husband and I, we went one day and wattle was in season. You know, it comes out whenever it does. And I went and then we tasted and I thought, well, you know, you're going to have to be pretty hungry to want this. It tastes very ordinary, I can tell you that. It's just, okay. Okay, this is the next one. Now, this is calendula. Okay, calendula alleviates inflammation of colitis, mild digestive ailments, liver, kidneys, gallbladder, stimulates bile, decreases body odour, alleviates edema, bladder infections, cleanses blood. Yes, inflamed lymph nodes, accelerates post-pregnancy healing for caesarean births. And there's more here. Antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. It is one of the best herbs. And remember, we use the flowers, the petals. Acne, it controls bleeding, menstrual cycle. It's good for rashes, sunburn, radiation. And it's nice to heal wounds. And I think there's another one, yeah. And you can use topically in tea or oil. And so you can use it for any of your bruises, your burns, or anything like that. Now, what I've done here is I'm going to show you how I've done it. I've actually just put the leaves, the petals are in a glass jar, and then I just tip my oil on top of them. Now, this is the same principle for all of them. You just put them on and you leave them and you shake them every day like this. If you forget, that's all right, but try to remember every day. Shake it. And you leave it on like a sunny windowsill or something like that, where it's just getting warmth. And probably after about three to 4 weeks, that's when you strain it. Now, I often leave the herb in it. If I don't want it, I'll just leave it in there. I don't even bother straining it until I need it. But that will keep, because it was dry. Remember, the petals were dry before I put them in there. But if I put it in wet, it would have just been a bit of a disaster, because it'll end up mouldy, and you don't want to spoil. And you've got quality herbs, you've got all this oil there, and it goes mouldy, and you get very disappointed if you lost the whole lot. Because once it's mouldy, you have to throw the lot out. Mould is caused from you having moisture in your leaf when you're doing it. So you have to have a dry leaf. Okay, you can do petal poultices, calluses and corns, but remember, do not over-consume if the liver is sluggish. It may stimulate bile too rapidly and cause biliousness. Wounds may heal too quickly over your stitches. Now, this one comes up in your garden everywhere in the summer. It's a summer herb, and it has little waxy leaves and a brown stem, and it's called purslane. It has a lemony flavour, and we often, when we've got this, we don't have it all the time, but when it's in season, we pick it and we slice it up and put it in our salads. It is the richest source of omega-3 in the plant kingdom. Yeah, you can have it. It increases milk supply in nursing mothers. It's good for allergies, thyroid, adrenals, pituitary, and entire endocrine system, plus much more. Look, when you look up what these herbs can be used, I could be there listing, and it's like endless. Basically, they're good for everything. Now, this one you might not know about, because I actually got this in, and it comes up every year because I've got it in. It's called mullein.
That's for the lungs.
Yes, that's right. Soft, velvety leaves used for respiratory conditions, system. And it's a valuable painkiller and nervine. It helps calm and relieve irritated nerves. It is the only herb known that has narcotic properties without being poisonous and harmful. Soothes and strengthens bowels and glandular system. And so what I've done, it grows up quite tall. The leaves are quite large down the bottom, and it can grow up this high. And the centre stalk grows up, and it has little yellow flowers on. Now, if you get those little yellow flowers on and you just let them dry a little bit off and you soak them, you can soak them in olive oil, and that is very good for hearing. So if you're losing your hearing, you put one drop in each ear every day, and it helps your hearing. And that's my mullein oil there. I've got some already made up.
We had COVID in
Okay, did you hear that? This lady said she had COVID and they used a lot of mullein tea in it because it's very good for bronchial problems. And I remember years ago I had bronchial problems and I just went and took a drink of mullein tea and just like that it relieved it. It really does help. Yes. And they actually call this poor man's toilet paper because the leaves are so large and fluffy and soft. A little bit further on in the garden, marjoram soothes digestive system. And you see, this is a perennial. Those roots would be going right deep into the ground. They're not just like an annual. Remember, if you're just having food from your annual root system, you're not getting enough trace minerals into your body. Soothes digestive system, dyspepsia, colic, gastritis, abdominal cramps, and cyst sleeps, plus it goes on there. It clears toxins and increases white blood cell count, plus lots more. Now this one, it's maybe you don't see it really clearly on that picture because it's hard, because it's growing. It entwines around everything in your garden. And it's called cleavers, and it's called sticky weed. Okay, now that is excellent for, it's known as goosegrass sticky weed, and it's very good for your lymphatics, will drain out your lymphatics. It stimulates the activity of your lymphatic system and organs so that they can do their job properly. Helps to cleanse and nourish the blood. Use it for psoriasis, rashes, arthritis, urinary stones and infections. I don't know. It depends. I don't know. But it's sticky. It's like there's little hooks on it. They're like Velcro, and you walk, especially if you've got slacks or anything on or trousers on, you work through them and they just wrap around around your legs. Well, save it. Remember, pull it out, save it. And this is a very good, even if you've only got a little bit. Remember I told you the same principle with your corn silk. Just get some of this, and if you haven't got a dehydrator, just lay it out on maybe a spare bed or something. Get a sheet and just lay it out and let it just lie there, and it'll take probably about 2-3 weeks and it'll dry out, and there you've got your herb. And then you crumble it up and store it in a glass jar. Wow. So remember, just put it a few weeks on your bed, on a spare bed or somewhere out of the way where if you haven't got a spare bed, you need to get it out of the way. I wouldn't dry it on newspaper. I prefer to dry it on a sheet. Okay? Would you use it as a tea? Yes. If I dried it, I would use it as a tea then. But I'm just grabbing a little bit of this. If I've got it in the garden, I'll just pull it off and I'll put it in my green drink. Go a little bit further. This is marshmallow. Clears mucus and toxins from your body. It soothes respiratory system, urinary tract, intestines, and any inflammation. Used for sore throats, coughs, colds, laryngitis, bronchitis, tight chests, sinusitis, emphysema, tonsillitis. This is more bronchial. A lot of times when you buy cough medicine, you've got herbal cough medicine, it's got marshmallow in it. And I can remember reading a story about it. There was a man in America who had gangrene. And they actually made a bathtub and they filled it, like I've told you about the bathtub full of herbs. Well, they went out and they got a whole lot of marshmallow. And they put it in the bath, soaked it in. The man soaked in there with it, and the gangrene was fine. He got rid of the gangrene. Now, the next one is dandelion. Now, on the right-hand side, I want you to know, because a lot of people don't know what dandelion looks like. Dandelion has it grows down from the bottom, from the rosette, and it has one stem and one flower. One stem, one flower. One stem, one flower. And the stem, if you cut it through, like on the right-hand side, you cut it through crossways, it is completely hollow. It's like a straw.
Yes. Does it
No, it's got no white in it. If it's got white in it, it's not right. It's not the one you want. This one, it has to be hollow. That's dandelion. Now, can I tell you, I grew up being told that one on the left was dandelion. And you know what? It's capeweed. Okay, now, I mean, it's obviously some of you might think, but that's what I was taught. Okay, the one on the bottom right hand corner is cat's ear, and on the top you can see it as it gets older. Because can I tell you, when a plant is very small, it can look alike. You can't tell what they are. You've got to let it go to flower. Now, up on the right hand side, you will see that stem has a lot of little branches coming off, going up the way. Now, that is not dandelion. That is a cat's ear. Yet the leaf, when it's little, looks very similar to dandelion. Dandelion has a hairy leaf, dandelion doesn't. So you need to know what is dandelion. Here it is. Now, it appears in the winter and it is bitter. Use your leaves, your roots and your stems, and they are full of nutritive salts which purify the blood and destroy acid in the stomach. Anemia, it helps anemia caused by lack of nutritive salts and improves circulation. It's great. It's an excellent liver tonic. It stimulates bile flow, alleviates colitis, constipation, helps kidney function, scanty urine, bedwetting. Is safe plant diuretic that alkalizes the body, reduces excess acidity. It's bitter, and that's the point. It is very bitter. Now, you can use dandelion leaf, make it into a tea. You can also go, and I think that even in the supermarket they have dandelion coffee. You can use that. That is very good. Now, it's very interesting because we heard of somebody who had problems after they had their COVID injection, and they got very, very sick. And they are saying that one of the things to help people was dandelion. And Peter suggested it to this gentleman, and he's on this dandelion tea, and he swears by it. Oh, I think it's not tea, the coffee. He's on dandelion coffee, and you're having 5 or 6 cups a day. It's really helping him with his symptoms of apparently, it binds a spike protein. So it's really good. So you need to... Dandelion is something, and you might need to acquire a taste for it. It is not that nice because it's so bitter. But it is bitter, and our body needs bitter. And, okay, the moment you hit it, because it's the liver. And by the way, those stalks... You can cut it. Maria Treben, she's a German or Austrian herbalist, I can't remember, but she said you'd break off those stalks and you chew it, and you chew the stalks, and you can spit out the fibre, but that, if you chew maybe 5 or 6 of those a day, after about a month, you will have a super liver cleanse just by chewing those stalks. It stimulates your spleen, regulates blood sugar, alleviates diabetes, and you can have 1 cup 3 times a day. Congestion of your liver, 1 cup 3 times a day. Jaundice, obesity reduces severity of hepatitis. And I had a lady, she was a friend of mine. She actually had fibromyalgia, and she helped herself through using this. She grew her own dandelion, and she used the whole lot. She used the root as well, but she made her own little decoction, and and that's it. Do you know, Peter has another story. He was saying that when he was a young boy, his herbalist grandmother, the whole school, and I think he says there was 800 in the school, wasn't there, or something, and whooping cough went right through the whole school, and he went out with his grandmother, and they scraped scraped the snow back or whatever it was, and they picked up bits of this and bits of that, greens that were left over, And the grandmother came back and just mashed it all up, and it was a terrible, terrible tasting concoction. And she said, give it to them 3 times a day or however often it was. They all took it, and they were practically one of the very few families that they all went to school, He went to school. He didn't miss any school because the whole school was practically closed down because of whooping cough. So you can do that. Now this next one, that's stinging nettle. It's an effective remedy for pain relief. It creates warmth, but you can use it. It's the best blood cleansing and blood building herb known. Very good for women who have got that monthly loss of blood and they need to rebuild their iron. One of the richest sources of chlorophyll in the plant kingdom, and it can be used as a food. And and I thought, how do you use it as food? Because my mother-in-law, when she was alive, told me that after the war they used dandelion to stay alive. And so how do you eat dandelion? Because if you just cut it up, it's got all those prickles in it, and it does, it's like that. So what I did, and I worked it out, and somebody told me, and I think I just tried it. You cut it off and you take it in and you lay it on a breadboard. You just get your rolling pin over it, and then guess what? All the prickles are gone, and you can slice it up and you can put it in a salad. And it is so, so good for iron, rebuilding your iron. Makes great green noodles. How do you make green noodles? We'll talk about that another time. Okay, now this is excellent for men's prostate. Stinging nettle, it's not just good for women, it's good for men's prostate. You use your nettle tea as an effective treatment for men's prostate cancer. It inhibits the transformation of benign cancer cells to malignant cells in prostate cancer. A daily dose of 240 milligrams combined with 320 of saw palmetto. Now that's another herb. You'd have to go to the health food shop to get that one. Saw palmetto. For 12 weeks, showed a 26% increase in urinary flow, a 45% reduction in residual urine, a 50% reduction in nocturia, a 62% reduction in dysuria, and a 53% decreased post-void dribbling in enlarged prostate patients. So this is it. So some men have problem, they're getting up at night too many times during the night. Well, it improves that. The other one is dysuria. That's painful urination. So it helps that. So remember that for men's prostate. Okay, this next one, plantain. Okay, now that's the plantain. That's how the heads of it. I break those off, and sometimes I put those in the green drink, but I just run my hand up and I take those sort of their flowery bits off the top. That is the same as psyllium. That belongs to the psyllium family. I don't know if it's exactly what you buy as psyllium, but that is what you can substitute psyllium. And I just saved them. I've pulled them off to go in to add in stews or anything like that. You can just for fibre. You use for all bleeding. Has allantoin, helps cells knit back together, stimulates growth and healing. Used for arthritis, high blood pressure, whatever. They're very good at blood cleansing. Good blood cleanser, malignant growth, cancer, thrombosis, hemorrhoids, lumbago, varicose veins, diabetes, and so on. Used as a poultice for burns. Do you know, years ago I heard about this, and I remember a lady, we went away once and we were staying with some friends who had another neighbour who, they were right out in the very far, they were about an hour away from a supermarket, and it wasn't easy to get out. And this woman was recovering. She was quite ill. She had a lot of problems with her bleeding, and so she found an enormous patch of plantain, and she would chop it up and she would eat it sliced, chopped up in a salad. It's quite edible. Not only that, her teenage children were eating it too. And usually teenage children, they're a bit fussy. And they ate it, they had no problems with it. But I also found out plantain. I have a book here. Comfort, and it's just a little book that I got, Comfort for the Burns and Wounded by John Kaye. Now, I've got this written up in one of my old newsletters. I looked up, I think it's about 2016. You'd have to go on my website because this is a summary of that on my newsletter, where this man was an Amish farmer in America, and his little boy was about 2 or 3 or something, got third-degree burns over him. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't really want to send him to the hospital because some of his relatives, close relatives, had also been burned, and he knew what a trauma it was to have those dressings changed, how painful it was for the children. And so he decided to go out, and he went out into the bush, I suppose the woods they called it, and he prayed to God. He says, what do I put on my little boy? And you know what? He looked there and he saw some plantain. So he picked the plantain and he took it back and he put it on the boy's burns, and instantaneously the boy was relieved of pain. And not only that, he found there was not just plantain, he used burdock leaves, he used grape leaves, he even ran out and he said he used alfalfa sprouts. And I think it's the chlorophyll, but it has to be an edible plant. And he used it, not only that, there was no scarring, and the dressings you would just slip off and he'd put a fresh dressing on. It was an incredible story. It would just never, I always remembered it, and that's why I wrote it up in an article. If you want to read it, go onto my website, and I think it's like in 2006. I think that's... Bed sores too, yes. There you go.
On the burn, and it was like it was frying it.
Yes.
The next day she could actually hit it really hard.
Yes.
And it was
So this lady was saying that there was a burn, somebody got burnt from boxer matches igniting in her hand, and she used slices of tomato. Look, I agree with you. I believe we can use so many things. And when I read that book and I thought so many, and not only that, it will, you know, the skin beneath it will start growing back without scarring. It took the pain away. Yeah, that's right. There's a picture of the burdock. He used burdock with it on this. This is the book. He used burdock. I've forgotten that I'd included that picture in, so you just know what burdock looks like. I'm not talking about that one. But this is the next one I want to talk to you. I haven't got that many. I'm going towards the end. This is called yellow dock. Used for jaundice, liver, congestion, all that sort of thing. And it is excellent for lymphatic system and it's for treating cancer. And as a tonic, dock is very high in iron. Now, years ago, Peter and I went out and we found a huge dock. We found a dock plant and we pulled it out. And the root is like a huge taproot. It's like a giant carrot. Root must have been about that long. And I took it home and I thought, what do I use this for? And I think he chopped it up. By memory, it was with an axe or with a tomahawk or something. It's so big. And I dried it off. I thought, well, I'll keep it. And sure enough, guess what happened? Later on, I was going in, I had menopausal bleeding, and I was suffering, and I thought, what do I do? And I had to go to the doctor. I went to the doctor, and they admitted me I had a curette. And it was Thursday before Easter. Good Friday I went home on Good Friday, but the doctor said I was borderline transfusion. He didn't give me a transfusion, but he said he was borderline. He said he just opted. He said he'd wait and see how I recover over the weekend. So I got out my big pot of dyed yellow dock root, and I made a massive big pot of tea, and I drank it over a few days. And honestly, it was nearly black, the tea. And, well, the taste, forget about the taste. I also drank a bottle of chlorophyll, which I got from the health food shop. Plus I had also, at that stage you could buy Lloyd's grape juice, really good grape juice, and I had grape juice. And when I went back to the doctor on the Tuesday after the Easter weekend, he could not believe it, how high I got my iron content, just by doing that over that weekend. So I can't tell, I've forgotten what but I know it was very low and what it came up to, my iron counts. So I just know how good it is. The next one is sheep sorrel. Cleanses blood, expels worms, warming to the heart, reduces swelling, inflammation. And this is actually an ingredient in Essiac tea, which is a cancer remedy. Sheep sorrel. Okay, the next one I've got here, we talked about it earlier in our comfrey poultices, but it's excellent to heal any part that has been torn or broken. It contains allantoin, which stimulates rapid growth. It's a blood purifier, and you can use it for everything. Now, this here is a pot of my comfrey oil. What I've done is the same. Now, there's some comfrey leaf tea. What I do is you put it in a jar and you just cover it with oil. Best quality olive oil that you can get. And you just do it the same, at least 3 weeks, shaking it, keeping it in a warm place. And then you drain it. And now what I've done here, I've actually done it again. I've put that oil in a fresh lot of leaves and I've done it, so I've got double strength comfrey oil. Now you can use that, you don't have to make that into an ointment. You can if you want to. The recipe is in the book how to do it. But if you just want to use that as you just rub it on any injury or anything, it just takes the pain out of it, takes bruising out of it. It really will help. Even if you've got something, and let's say you've got a broken toe or something like that, or you stubbed your toe or whatever, that's excellent to rub over that because there's certain breaks you don't put into plaster. Now that's ideal for that. But any of the other things too, as I said, any bruising, anything like that you can use as well for. We talked about aloe vera as we went through the other day. They're the two varieties which I have, barbadensis and candelabra. But you can use that, helps digestion, acid reflux, irritable bowel, Crohn's disease, and I use this in conjunction with slippery elm for your digestive problems. But you need to understand, one of the problems with, one of the good things, not the problems, advantage of it is, one of my books has a Catholic priest from South America. He's treating people using aloe vera, and a lot of the cancer patients, they would just get better. Aloe vera. Alleviates allergies, inhibits metastasis in some types of cancer, including liver cancer. So it is incredibly powerful. Here is Herb Robert again. Now, we talked about that before, which I'm not going to go on. But this particular one is radium weed. This is used for burning skin cancers. You don't eat this one. Now, when this one is little, it looks very close to chickweed. Chickweed you can use. Chickweed's a very good skin one. But this one you don't use. Now, this has got sap on it. In the bottom right-hand corner, it's got a little stem with sap on. And what you do, that's what you burn your skin cancers off with. So if you want to burn a skin cancer off, you dab that on. You might need a few dabbings, but guess what? That will blister, and it will make it into a little sore, but when it heals over, that will get rid of it, because it actually penetrates and it pulls the cancer right down from, it's not just on the surface. They found that it does.
What about ordinary lumps?
Look, you could, but somebody I told this, and they went home and they did some lumps and bumps and all that sort of thing. If you want to try it, you try it. I'm not saying. I can't hear you.
I used she had a cancer through here that was quite big and ugly and weeping and bleeding.
Yeah.
And I helped her to get some where we had it down there.
Yeah.
And also I used that. And when she left, she used slices of garlic on it as well.
Yep.
And she was so grateful because that cancer healed.
Okay, so she had a cancer. I'll just tell you if you didn't hear it. This lady had a cancer, a large cancer on the back, round about that big, and she used radium weed, and also then later she used garlic. Slices of garlic. Now that will blister, remember that? So if you're going to deal with a skin cancer on your face and you've got to go out somewhere important, just realise that this is not a good time to do it. Okay, pick your time when you want to do it. If you've got it even on your hand, it can get very painful, and it's not necessary. And they did it on their forehead, and they said, I can't believe how painful this is. Remember, that's part of it. It's the healing of it.
It's the same as black salve that they talk about.
Black salve is similar, but this can work the same way. Okay, yeah, you can take it. Black salve probably goes a bit deeper, but this one is more of a surface one that you could just get little cancer spots off. Now, there you are. That's what I've done. I've got a little bowl. Guess what I've done? I've just got it, and I just get I have a bit of frozen peach in my freezer from my tree, or I tell you what I use sometimes is frozen feijoas, which we have, or you can put anything. You don't have to. You can use juice. I put them in there, put a little bit of water and then blend it up. I haven't got much in this particular pot here. And then you can drink it as a smoothie, all of it, the whole lot, or you use a little bit more water for blending and then strain and drink. Now, this is what I've got here for you here. I went out in my garden this morning. I picked a whole lot of leaves. I'll just shake it up. Needs to be shaken. What I've done is picked a whole lot of leaves and I have blended it, and I blended it in pineapple juice. Now, if you've got somebody who is a little bit wanting, that they don't... I've actually had it blended in water. Now, that is ordinary, I can assure you there. But if you've got somebody, especially a younger child or something, or you want to have a little bit of, you're trying to entice them to drink a bit of greens, add pineapple juice. Okay, that's good. Now, Marilyn's going to come and she's going to get it, and Lourdes, you can share that.
I will take both the bottles out.
Okay, let me just tell you that first.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about this one first.
And I'll take them both out the back.
Okay, now this one, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, is barley green. I'll talk about that in a moment. Just hold on. Oh, by the way, that is on the right-hand side. That's a juicer, which I have. It actually presses, and it'll press out green leaves. You can just like your wheatgrass. Excellent. Hardly any washing up there with that one too.
Can you put a stick of aloe vera just like that in a juicer?
Oh, it'd probably mush up. It's not, yeah. Any of those soft things don't do well in those type of juices. Now, this is an old herb doctor's special herbal mix. Collect any 25 poisonous plants, herbs, leaves, non-poisonous plants. Sorry about that. That was a slip of the tongue. Was not intentional. Herbs, leaves, flowers, seeds, barks, and roots. Properly dry them and grind them to a uniform size. Mix together and store in a covered glass. Boil 1 litre of water. Add 4 teaspoons of dried herb. Cover and let stand for 30 minutes. Strain. Add your lemon and honey if you wish. And 1 litre of this herb tea will provide all the daily requirements of daily vitamins and minerals. So go out in your garden, get all these things, dry them yourself. I can still remember I used to do that with Peter when he was working, and he'd take to work this concoction, and it tasted disgusting. But he'd faithfully drink it. Because your philosophy, I want you to notice something. You drink something, it'll taste terrible, but once it's past your taste buds and it's down in your stomach, you don't forget it. You've forgotten it. and then you still drink, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's not like it's always right there in your mouth. Once it's down, and then when it's in your stomach, it's doing all these good things for your body. And this is the barley green powder, which is this. What I've done is I've just barley green powder, which is like this. Just a green. I actually sell it in plastic bags because then you don't have to have the extra expense of, all these little plastic tubs. But it needs to stay out of the light. Okay, but it's got a shelf life of 3 years, so it's good. Now that is another easy way to get greens into you. Now I can still remember my grandson. He was telling me that he went to school, and they had somebody come in talking about how to get rid of cancer. And he said this man, he cured himself of cancer, but he said he took 12 teaspoons of barley green every day. If you have cancer and you need to get the greens into your body, you need a lot, okay? So don't think you just have maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons a day. But if you're just as therapeutic, like for myself and my husband, we just like therapeutic, you don't need to have high doses. Well, you just get yourself 1 or 2 teaspoons a day. And what we do is, I've put this in pineapple juice again, but what we actually have freshly squeezed. We have oranges or grapefruit. We have access to grapefruit or lemons, and you put them in your glass or whatever your container. Add your barley green, stir it all up. Then I just top it up with water and drink it, because the uptake of iron is increased with vitamin C. So keep on. When you get this little taste, you don't have to taste it, but this first one is the little taste of. Keep your cup, because we're going to try the other one too. Okay, now barley green powder, it's a powerful source of nutrition, and it fills nutrition gaps, helps control cholesterol level, assists with managing chronic disease symptoms, beneficial for bone health, inhibits cancer, tumour growth, and fuels immunity. So you're going to have a taste of this one in a minute once you have all those. Now I want you to remember, I've got a whole table full of newsletters up there. I want as many of them gone. If give them away to your friends. They're free. If you want to get on my mailing list, please do. Here is my email list. If you want to watch this online, you're welcome to, and you can see all that. That's online. Now, I want to just share with you also too, because I've still got lots more to talk to you about. I'm very interested in doing some subsequent programs, and I will do one a month, and hopefully I'd like to do it on the first Sunday afternoon of a month. Okay, so would people here be interested in coming? Okay, so we will continue on the first Sunday of the month, and there's one Sunday that may be in question, but we can talk to you about. That's Father's Day. We maybe can change that or something like that. But all the rest, the first Sunday of the month will be free here. So we will leave it that every first Monday afternoon of Sunday. Sunday afternoon, thank you, I've got to have somebody to correct me. Every first Sunday afternoon of the month, we'll do a follow-up program here, because there's still a lot more I can teach you and tell you. Same time? Yes. And I believe we've even got our wonderful man over there who's taping it. Yes, please. Just yes. Is there anyone hasn't had it? So on the first Sunday of the month, we will just continue here.
So that will be, do you know what date that first?
I can't even tell you what date it is. Somebody is going to have to tell me.
Maybe
Okay, now what we'll do is we could. Is there any questions while we're speaking here and waiting? That first one was the leaves, the mixed leaves. I have strained it. You don't have to strain it, but can I tell you what? If you don't want all these little bits of green in your teeth, you need to put it through a fine strainer. So that's the first one. The second one is the powdered barley green, okay, which is a much easier way because not everybody has got that. And you don't always have, it's just an easy way. Now, if you want to get an article, I've got an article on what barley green is. One of my newsletters, I think it was, I've forgotten the date now, I think it was 2008 or something like that. But scroll down on my newsletter, on my website, and you'll find there's an article on barley green, how good that is for you. Now, some of you might know all about barley green, but some people might be brand new at it. This is super nutrition. Remember, I told you that it can actually replace your meals too. Get your nutrition into you. This is excellent. This is organic barley green that comes from Australia. It's grown in Australia. So it's an excellent source of it. Yes? Red dock and yellow dock. I didn't hear the question. Yellow dock. I meant yellow dock, yeah. I'd check up on my books first. I can't recall hearing about that, but I would check up on that. Yeah. Yes, the dock, when you dig that dock up, it has got a yellowish root. Yeah. Okay, now before we finish up, Anne, did you want to have somebody to talk to? Oh, okay. Questions? There's one there. Right down the back, Andre. Okay, I'm reminding you to, if you want to go to the Depression Recovery Seminar, to drop your form in up there for people who are interested. Any other questions? Well, that's good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I suppose I know that there'll be people watching this online, and they can obviously hear we've got an audience, but the audience here is probably, I would say, about 60 people. So it's like, usually it's been the mid-50s and sometimes up to 60 people here. So that's how many people we've got in here watching this. So what's your verdict of the green drink? The first one's nicer. Somebody doesn't like it. So it's, something you've got to get. Look, just remember, it is super nutrition and it's medicine for you. I just thought that I'm going to let you try it because you know what? You're probably not going to do this yourself. Yes? Yeah, the microphone. Yes. I can't hear you. Barley green is food. Barley green is they are shoots of a barley plant. They are just the grass. It's like they're really not going to hurt you, okay? They're not going to contradict medication.
What about
Barley green, and they cut them off and they freeze dry them.
what about kelp? Do I need to see that?
I can't see that. No, I don't see that. Yeah. Any other question? Otherwise, I think we will leave it there. And I am thankful that you have stayed with us. But remember the first Sunday of 3rd of April, they said. Is it? 3rd of April. So we'll meet here on the 3rd of April. Bring along your book. I'm not sure what we'll be doing at this stage. I can't tell you. But we've got something in store for you. I've got lots of programs. I've got a lot of PowerPoints. I've got a lot of things prepared already. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, and look forward to seeing you next month.